Well, thank you guys for coming. The purpose of this and why I've been brought down is to help educate the staff about the solar array not across the street, just south of here. As you all know, probably since it's been under construction, you're going to get questions both from members, but also just as employees of Midwest. And I think the goal is for you guys to be able to communicate and be advocates of what's going on there. So I've developed 5 very poorly developed slides intentionally because I hope they just spur some questions. And at the end of it, I'm hoping you're a walking FAQ board for what's going on there. So at any time, if you have questions, just interrupt. That's totally fine. My name's Sam Hogue. I work for Wolverine Power Cooperative and our subsidiary Spartan Renewable Energy. Spartan Renewable Energy owns that array. We sell all the power to Wolverine Power Co-op, except for the power that eventually gets subscribed to by your members. They get credit for that generation. So that's kind of how the arrangement works. And if you didn't know, Wolverine provides all the power to Midwest. So the presentation is just going to cover a few things. How does solar work? Why do people want solar? And what is community solar? And I had a run through a brochure FAQs, but the brochure's back in redevelopment, and what I found a couple weeks ago is we answered all the questions in FAQ in the 3 slides. So one question that has come up, and we're going to do a tour afterwards, by the way, we're going to walk out there. But one thing that came up in previous is what actually is a panel? Is it the square here, or is it a rectangle? The answer is it's a rectangle. For some reason, these panels have this weird midline here. So if people ask what a panel is, it's actually 2 of these put together vertically. So that's just one interesting tidbit. So first off, how does solar work? What I want to do with this is just give you a basic understanding of how solar works so that you can talk about it to folks, but also because a lot of people wonder how solar works. But basically, solar is the ability to take sunlight into usable electricity on this side through 3 gizmos. The first gizmo is the module, and this is what most people associate solar with. It's the blue glass panels that are out there, and these panels are full of crystals, and when people ask how do the crystals convert solar to electricity, you can just say magic. That usually solves it. But in any sense, the panels convert sunlight into usable DC electricity. Now, if anyone here is an electrician, they know there's an issue there. We don't use DC for anything. So that brings us to our second gizmo, which is an inverter. The DC electricity flows into an inverter, it flips it to AC current, and at that point, if you were using this on your house, you could just plug regular appliances into your AC current. But we're not using it in a house in this instance, we're transmitting it on power lines, which brings our third widget, a transformer, where we add voltage to it, and we're able to step up the voltage and send it out all across the Midwest distribution system. So a common question related to this, beyond how does solar work, is how do I know that the panel I subscribe to is actually going to get used at my house or in the Midwest system? And the answer is, well, we can't control where the electron goes once it's transmitted. We can guarantee that power being generated right there is being used in the Midwest system. So the panel that they're subscribed to and getting paid for based on the credits is being used in the Midwest distribution system. So a fraction of it is getting to their house one way or the other. Any questions on how this works? Okay. So why do people want solar? I tried to break this down into main drivers, secondary drivers, and some falsehoods. The main drivers for why people want solar is it's environmentally sound and it's cool. And so the environmental benefits are obviously it's a fuel-free energy. The sun rises and sets every single day. It provides energy. We don't have to worry about purchasing a fuel source for that power plant. And that has a lot of environmental benefits when we're worried about the carbon that we use. The other thing is it's cool, and I don't mean cool as like a great conversation point at a bar or something, but when you think about your power supply, we basically provide the vast majority of your power supply through natural gas peaker plants and wind turbines and thumb. Your members don't have a lot of connectivity to that generation. Chances are they don't live by a natural gas power plant, and if they did, they wouldn't talk about it all that much. Or wind turbines are so far off somewhere else that they don't really see them. solar is really a way for them to bring some of their power supply source close to them, and in this instance they can participate in it. They can actually take advantage of the economic benefits of it. So that makes power supply something cool. It's an engagement tool for you all. The major reason why we build community solar is an engagement tool. Nobody's really making much money off of this. The members who subscribe aren't making much money. Spartan is not making much money, and Wolverine as the pastor is not making much money. There's lots of cheaper sources of generation than a small-scale solar array like that, but it really is a way for members to participate, and that's why we built it. The secondary drivers of solar are time of generation and tax credits. This is something that really applies more to the owners of solar and utilities. Solar, if you think about it, it generates the vast majority of the energy during the summer when air conditioners are on, and the vast majority of the energy during the day when people are working in factories are working and all that. So when solar comes to us is actually a very, very valuable time. So even though the installed cost of solar might be more than the installed cost of wind or natural gas or coal, the power it produces is more valuable to us because it's more expensive to buy that power at those times of day. So when people are like, solar is a farce, it's way more expensive than a coal plant, you can say, well, it's not really an apples to apples comparison. The solar delivers power at more strategic times of day, and that's why you're going to see utilities continue to invest in it. And then tax credits. So as it relates to people owning solar, or in this instance, Spartan owning solar, right now there's a 30% investment tax credit. So we're going to get 30% of that project cost back in the form of a tax credit. And that's what's driving a lot of the solar that's happening on people's roofs and in at their houses through net metering or your buy-all-sell programs. A common question people will ask on the subscription to community solar is, do I get the investment tax credit? And the answer is no. Spartan gets the investment tax credit, and that's built into the pricing of these panels. And if they want to take that chance with their own personal accountant, that's up to them, but at least you've washed your hands clean of that. Some falsehoods, because you will definitely get this. As people see more solar popping up, they're going to talk about, is someone making a bunch of money off this, or should I be cutting the cord to my utility? The answer is absolutely not. The absolute cheapest electrical arrangement you can have right now is just taking your standard service from Midwest Energy and Communications. We've built the solar pricing there, so it's about a break-even investment. The solar on your house, perhaps you could, if you're taking advantage of the tax credit, there might be a good way to make money, but the reality is just taking the regular old kilowatt hours that you provided a year ago or today is the absolute best they can do. If they say, well, I think I can build an array and cut the cord, you can say good luck every single night in October through March, because there's very little generation that's occurring in those months. So solar is expensive in summary, solar is expensive from an installed cost perspective, but it has a different value stream to us because of the time of use. It's a valuable supplement to an already diverse energy supply. So if you look at folks looking at investing in either community or on their house, it's a valuable complement to the service they already take from Midwest. From our perspective as a utility, it's a valuable complement to the natural gas plants and wind farms that we already own and operate. It is absolutely not a substitute to your regular electric service. No matter how many questions people ask, they will always end up at that same conclusion. Oh, I still have to have service from Midwest. So, now community solar. 2 weeks ago when I first started doing these, I think the analogy that took the best is leasing a car. So I drive that Chevy Cruze out there. I have a car payment on it. I own it. Well, I will own it when I'm done paying car payments. But the truth of the matter is, for the same price I probably pay for my car payment for a Chevy Cruze in an effort to own it someday, I could probably lease a Cadillac, right? I'd get the benefit of driving around a nicer car. Every time I hear a funny noise, I can take it to the dealership, give them the key, and say, fix it. And at the end of 3 years, when I want something new, I can just take it in and give it away. So community solar is a lot like that. Someone is leasing or subscribing to a panel. They never own it, but they get all the benefits of that panel. Every kilowatt hour that panel generates, they'll get paid 10 cents for, just like Spartan would if we hadn't have leased it to them. So they basically get all the benefits of that, and after 15 years, they have to give it back to us. That's how it works. Now, a common question will be, well, what will happen to that array after 15 years? Why not longer? The truth of the matter is after about 10 years, we're going to start analyzing that array and trying to figure out what the next life of that facility will be. Those modules are warranted for 25 years, but they decrease in their output every single year leading up to that 25. Those inverters will likely need to be replaced around 20 years. So we did 15-year subscription so that around year 15 we can say, well, what are we going to do with this? Are we going to replace all the inverters? Are we going to replace all the modules? Or are we going to let it rot and maybe do a 5-year subscription for people? There will be some offering at the end of that 15-year period. We just don't know what it is. So that's how that will work. So the generation, so how community solar works, your particular program, it's $600 for a panel subscription. Midwest, I believe, is graciously providing a $150 rebate if you buy or if you subscribe to a panel by the end of this year. And they're also offering $10 a month financing for 5 years, but you don't get the rebate. From our last session, I've been told that you offer a maximum of 20 rebates per residential customer, and the rebates are not available to commercial customers because it comes out of your energy optimization money. The panels are expected to generate roughly $40 a year, sometimes more, sometimes less. We have no control over that because we can't control the sun. You can, if you're talking to people about it, you can say there will be a lot more generation in the summer months than the winter months. One of the common questions you'll get, especially from subscribers, are you going to knock the snow off of my panel in the wintertime because I'm losing out on my 10 cents? You answer that by saying there's not enough generation in January and February to worry about knocking it off, and on a sunny day it will eventually fall off. And they'll just have to kind of learn to work with that. Because it is the truth. Even on a beautifully sunny January or February day, between the angle of the sun and how long it's up in the sky, in Michigan, it's just not going to be a ton of generation. So that's the answer on that. And I think the biggest benefit to community solar, you don't have to build or maintain anything. Not everyone has a south-facing roof to put solar on their house. Not everyone has a wide open field where they could put ground mount solar. And not everyone has $20,000 that they can devote to putting in a solar array at their own house. And not everyone pays enough taxes to take advantage of the investment tax credit. So this is a really inexpensive way for anyone to participate in solar if they want to do it. And so kind of in summary, community solar is a lot like leasing a nice car. You get to enjoy most of the benefits without the larger upfront costs and long-term maintenance. So that's kind of how the program works. There's a lot of other details, but happy to answer any questions, and our training will culminate with a tour. So does anyone have any?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if Jane Doe buys or leases one panel, does she get a specific panel, or do you guys do an average of all the panels?
Yeah, so it is an average. So that's one of the important things to talk about with members. Well, two things I would say. One, this is never an investment. You don't promise them a return, because then you get into issues with the Securities and Exchange Commission and all that stuff. We estimate that a generation will be $40 subscription every year. The second is you never own anything. You can't point to the one that you own. You can't put your name on it. You can't go and decorate it every year. You are getting one subscription out of the thousands of panels that we have at 2 arrays. So this one here and this one in Cadillac. And you're getting your pro rata portion of that generation that's occurring, which is nice because you actually get the diversity of 2 locations. It could be sunny down here and cloudy in Cadillac, or vice versa. So the generation of the whole array will be divided up by the number of panels, and that will be your bill credit based on how many subscriptions you have. So that's a really good question. Another one that made me think of is, what happens if I move, die, or just am sick to death of this program? The answer is you get 100% of your money refunded at any time, minus the bill credits you've received to date and any rebates you've received to date. So there's no risk in this program. You can cancel anytime. So that's a really nice benefit. Even with my leased Cadillac, I don't think I'd get to turn the car in after a couple of years if I was sick of it. So, yeah.
Are the panels on a device that moves with the sun?
Yeah, good question. So tracking panels, much like the winter answer of do you knock it off in the winter, we don't use tracking panels here because the solar resource it's tracking doesn't necessarily justify the upfront investment of all the motors and maintenance that goes into track panels. You go 10 degrees latitude south of here, totally different ballgame. At that point, the angle of the sun in the sky and the duration of their winters makes it worth investing in those. And actually, I believe as tracking systems go down in price, they'll start working their way into Michigan in the next 2 to 3 years. There's already one system built near Lansing that has tracking panels, and all of us in the utility business are looking to the differences in generation there. So no tracking, just fixed and boring here. Yeah.